Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be jumping into the topic of how both men and women are raising their standards and finding a partner. Now, I seen a clip on YouTube. I'm going to put it in the description that kind of breezed on this topic. And though I've always thought about this topic before, it just kind of brought it to the forefront. And then I wanted to kind of speak on the details within this concept, along with some of the negatives and the real aspect of what makes this something that's challenging that they didn't speak of in the video, and I'll get into that in a moment. So nowadays, obviously, the dating game has changed, and for a lot of people, it has it almost has become a thing, kind of like an arms race, some kind of arms race, where it's like the evolution of you know predator versus prey, or however you want to say that dynamic, where you've got one group is finds a way to get around or raise their standards for what they want from a person, and how hard it is for you to obtain them. Then the next group does the same. Like the women will do this and the men will do this, and then it's always like this kind of, okay, keep raising the bar. And then for a long time, I think in the last maybe 15, 20 years, it was where the women kind of had a more higher, I guess they were on top of the game. And now men, through certain social media videos, even such as similar to my channel as well, trying to just empower people. It's not about sides, but I'm just saying this to say that now the men are kind of getting awoke to the fact that they have to evolve now. And it's always been a constant evolving, um, over the years, where it's like the men, the women, each one comes to dating with a different approach. And so essentially raising that standard. And for the most part, this is a bit of a shock for most people in the modern day, because we're hitting a place where those standards, when people throw it out there and they say this is what they want, it's easy to say this is what they want. This is my new bar. This is the standard that I set for myself, what I want. And part of that becomes the fact that you have women now who make more money. So a man making decent money is not enough, because there's no longer that concept of the man who makes the single family income, household income level, where the man made enough money to support an entire home. Now it's like you kind of need two people in the home to actually make the income. So, so now that we're in this place where you kind of need double income to actually support, what happens now is that you have women who are making just as much money as men. So now it's not enough to just say, okay, you make money, you bring that to the table. What else do you bring? Even though the nuances break down more detailed than that. So there's a lot more being brought to the table than just the money. Like, for example, with a lot of men, there's the sense of the fact that, so it's not just money, but they bring protection, they bring security, and security sometimes means more than just the finances. Within the finance realm, it could mean things like how they manage that money. You know what I mean? Or the fact that they know when there's that limit to spending, whatever the case is. Those little nuances like that, and then also to management, so future planning in terms of setting up things like investments and businesses and things and ways that you can retire, so that way the whole home is protected under this bubble of there's a financial freedom plan for the immediate household down the line. But these nuances get overlooked because, like I said, the woman might say, well, I make money, so I'm assuming that I can now adapt that role. And the same thing for men. So some of the things that women bring to the table that men now are doing, they have to learn to do is, they start learning to cook. They start learning to, not that they shouldn't know how to cook anyway, but more detailed cooking, meaning you're not just throwing something from the freezer and putting it in the microwave. Some men start getting to that point where they start meal prepping and they get all this other kind of stuff. But nonetheless, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be as good at doing the job that most women will do either. But so my point to this is, creates an illusion that you can do what the other person does, because you're able to say, well, I kind of can do those same fields as well. breaking down some of the things with the men, like, they might be cooking some of their own food, but at the same time too, um, there's that sense of maybe a lot of men who aren't gonna have that self care for themselves that maybe a woman will do for them. Um, Sometimes it's the way they prepare the food. Sometimes it's the balanced meal in terms of you getting your vegetables. And a lot of men will be like, "I'm cooking for myself." It's like, yeah, but do you have those vegetables? Do you have all those kind of little things, nuances? Maybe sometime too, like I don't know, woman might come give you a back rub, make you feel better, even bring order into the home too. So while you might think you have order in the home, sometimes women are very good at keeping everything organized between the cleaning, knowing when to clean, the cooking, obviously, like I mentioned, inner house management. Whose schedule is this? When's the doctor's appointments for this? When's the kid's appointment for that? When you got to go there, they'll have all that organized. And even though as men, we might be able to start adapting those ways. So we'll go, I know how to do that too, because I do it also, but then we may not be doing it as efficiently as the woman might naturally do, just as the woman might say, I'm making now a lot of money too, but she's not able to manage it as efficiently as the man is. So, but I'm just making the point that it gives the illusion that we can take up that other person's role. So we're like, we don't really need you as much. And that is part of why, we're kind of in this almost stalemate when it comes to um, this kind of shock to the culture of like, okay, if I'm raising my standards because I feel like I can do what the woman does and the woman says I can do what the man does, we almost go, well, why do I need you? Not realizing the little nuances to it are actually more detailed than just that. But on the surface, that's what it creates, that feeling. Now, sorry, you guys. Now, this is the reason why um, things used to be more simpler back in the days when the standards weren't so high, is because it's not so much about the standards that you hold for yourself, and that's not where the issue comes into play. It's about receiving the other person's standards, and this is the key aspect that nobody wants to really understand when they think of it like raising the bar. And this is the part that they didn't really go into the details when it came to that clip. Like I said, I'm going to post it down below in the description. Is that it's no problem to inflate your prices, so to speak, on what you want. That's not a problem if you're going to do that from your own perspective. That's the part that no one has a problem doing. Everyone like saying, I'm raising the price on what I want, my standard. That's no one has a problem with that part, and everyone does it. It is what it is. The problem is this: you have to understand when you raise your price, and the other person is going to raise their price. Are you going to pay their price? Forget about that you're raising your price. Are you okay with paying their price? And that's where the problem comes into play, is nobody wants to or is not ready to pay the other person's price. It's like if you have a business and you raise the prices on your business, on the items that you're selling, and then all of a sudden you're like, no, that's great, I'm making more money. But now it's like the milkman and the post office raised their price, and everything that you do to function raises their price. The rent gets raised, everything else. You're like, man, that sucks that everything went up, but you just raised your prices. So you have to understand everyone's raising their prices along with it, and you can't complain that you have to pay more if you are okay with raising your own prices. And that's the part where people have the big issue in terms of accepting it. Where back in the days, the standards for what you had to pay was less. So even though people's standards of what they demanded was less, you also had to pay less. And that was the part where it made things a little more compatible. Somebody would say, well, for example, in the case of a man might say, I just need a woman to be pretty and, maybe take care of things at home, cook and clean, and that's all I really need her to do. And then the woman would say, okay, well, all I need you to do is make some money, be a provider, a protector on a basic level. I don't need you to go to the extreme. I'm not going to disrespect you. I'm not going to be yelling at you. I'm not going to do anything like that. I'm going to make you feel good. Just do those things. Come with some, finance, protection, blah blah. And so at that point, the guy knew, and I'm just using an example. You can reverse it with the woman as well. But the guy knew, okay, well, all I have to do with the price of admission is just make some money and make sure that I take care of things and make sure I pay the bills on time, make sure like I'm keeping things in order, and that's all. And it was a lower standard. Now it's like, okay, well, now that the bar has risen, the entry to coming into the door now is no one wants to pay that price. And using that same example with the man now it's like it's not enough that you do that. Now you have to have, and I'm just using this example, it might be a bad example, but now your clothes have to be really pressed all the time. You got to have good, like, you know, clean, fresh cut all the time. Your hair, make sure that you're using a skincare treatment so you got no blemishes on your face. Make sure that you are always in the gym every single day because you got to have that super perfect body. Make sure that you are super charismatic. Make sure that you know how to do this, you know how to do that. You're handy with, tool stuff as well, but you also have to be, that kind of uh, tool type of, I don't know the word I would call it, but that kind of like, you know, hands-on tool type of guy, Tim the Tool Man Taylor type of guy. Yet I need you to be a genius who can also go into like the office room and be the guy who's also, doing the best. And you could think outside of the box, which obviously, if anyone who used to watch that kind of show or show similar to it, Tim the Tool Man was never that sharpest tool in the shed, yet he was good with his hands. So the concept is like now it's like you need to be all these things at the same time. And that goes back now, that goes into my next category of it, which is the problem. Like I said before, the standards are lower. So the problem, as I just kind of really already jumped into, which is neither knows how to handle such demands on each other, receiving those demands. Like that's the part where people are having a lot of problems with. They don't mind saying, raising the bar what they want, but receiving it is where the problem comes into play. That's the part of the transaction that no one is capable of wrapping their heads around. They're like, you want that? You want those things. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Um, I don't think that's fair. And that's the thing about it too, is that not everyone is on the same page with their demands and their um with the demands they want, along with receiving the new prices that they have to pay as well. So it's almost like everything was at a baseline, almost like minimum wage on both ends of the stick. You had to pay, we'll say minimum wage $5 back in the days, a long time ago. It's like you have to pay $5. You can only charge $5, but you also only have to pay $5. And everyone was like, cool, we're all on the same page. Right now, we're at a place where some people are like, I'm charging $7. And they're like, I expect to pay $7. But the other person's going, no, but I'm charging $10 and I expect to only pay like $5. And it's like, wait a minute. Like, so now everybody's demand in terms of their prices, in terms of what they want to pay, what they want to receive, is not balanced all across the board. And so now you're looking at a place where not only do people not want to pay the price, but they know that they're getting ripped off in the price they're paying versus what they're receiving. And it's not balanced. And the thing about it is we've gone to a place now where no one truly understands that balance realistically. So you got a lot of individuals who will go, I'm I'm charging $13 for myself, but I expect to only pay $5 because they're looking for that bargain. And it doesn't work like that. The amount that you are are expecting to receive in payment is what you have to be willing to pay. It's not about getting a bargain when it comes to the dating game. That's the problem. People are trying to view it like this kind of business transactional thing that they're like, I want to get the best bang for my buck. It doesn't work like that. And that's where the problems come into play. Why um, we're in a place now where people are not capable of really wrapping their heads around this, and it's causing a lot of problems because now no one's on that same page about understanding the supply and demand. um, at the end of the day, you are only as valuable as what you're only as valuable in what you could demand to charge equal to what you're willing to pay. So if you're willing to pay $10 worth of, you know, of how good you are giving out to the other person, I'm putting in money form just so it makes it easier to translate. If you are demanding somebody pay $10, you got to be willing to give out $10 of performance or how you are as a person to that other person that you want to get with, so that way they're getting that much from you and they go, you know what, I don't mind paying $10 for this person because they're giving me $10 back, and it's like, wow, like this is great what I'm receiving in return. Unless you're willing to do that, this whole thing falls apart. And that's why currently right now things are falling apart. And I don't think that they're going to really change much because this is a new concept that most people aren't able to wrap their head around because, as was mentioned even in that video that I was watching, and I agree with it, we came from a baseline standard where the demand wasn't very, it didn't, there wasn't required that much to enter the door. So you had a lot of people who just said, you know what, like, let me just get someone who's just hardworking, does what they got to do. They do their typical kind of routine. How should I say, what we thought was the baseline of what a man or what a woman should do. It was like almost like this kind of general average baseline you expected them to do culturally. You just said, I expect a woman to cook and clean, mostly take care of the kids, even if she's working. And for the man, it was like, yeah, he's working, but I still expect him to make sure that no matter what, even if the woman maybe lost her job or had to take time off, the man still will make sure that the roof is over everyone's head. He's going to make sure that everything's planned out where the kids are going to be able to maybe go to college. He's moving the funds around. He's making everything work, and all those kind of things as well. And that was just the basic standards. Like if you had that, you were like, cool, this is going to work out. We're just going to make it work out. Which is why you had a lot more people who would be married with kids at like somewhere between like 20 to 25, already starting a family and working. Now you don't really have that anymore because as all the things I just explained. So put your comments down below, you guys, if there's any thoughts you guys have on this whole thing. And as always, like, share, subscribe. As I said, comment below. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.